I would like to make one very obvious statement right at the very beginning of this video. I am not Ichiro Oda. I do not write One Piece. I am not an editor on One Piece. I do not know how this series is going to end. I don't know for 100% fact how this arc is going to end. Heck, I don't even know for sure how the next chapter is going to end. But as somebody who's been a fan of this series weekly in the manga since the Davy Backfight arc, I feel like I am in a good position to make some educated guesses and to comment on certain things. And over the course of my time in this fandom, there is one debate that has always raged on among the community. The topic of the next Straw Hat. And barring one exception, in the entire time that I have been covering this series on YouTube, and honestly, even in the entire time that I've been following this series weekly, it has never, ever been more clear who the next Straw Hat is going to be than right now on September 12th, 2021, Yamato is the next Straw Hat. And for those of you who are newer fans and weren't really around way back in the day, let me fill you in on a couple things. Let's go all the way back to the weekly releases of Water 7 and Enies Lobby, where people were discussing the chapters on Arlong Park and on Oro Jackson. Okay, there was a topic of debate in early Water 7 who the next shipwright was going to be. Some people thought it was going to be Paulie, some people thought that it was going to be Frankie. And there was a pretty big divide among the community of which character was going to be the next shipwright, and it really wasn't until they boarded the Puffing Tom and got to Enies Lobby that it became abundantly clear that Frankie was going to be the next shipwright. Now, I was always Team Frankie. I'm just going to say that right now. If you go back and look at my old forum posts, I was always Team Frankie. But there were a lot of people who, and rightfully so, believed that maybe Paulie was going to join, and that's fine. But it was a topic of debate. And then as we moved into other story arcs like Sabaody and Amazon Lily and Impel Down, and we got to see some of these old characters again, the topic once again started to rage, and people thought, maybe is Bon Clay going to join the crew? And then as we got through the rest of Marineford, and we saw Ace and Whitebeard's death, and we met Jinbei, people thought, okay, well maybe Jinbei's going to join the crew then, going into the Fishman Island arc that's going to be the first major arc after the time skip. Then we had Fishman Island, and it became abundantly clear throughout the course of Fishman Island that yes, of course, Jinbei is going to join the crew. But Oda threw a curveball at us, and Jinbei didn't join immediately following Fishman Island. He had other things he needed to take care of, and thus that hole where a lot of people thought Jinbei is filling that hole, he's the next Straw Hat, he's going to be the next character joining our crew, opened back up again. And the debates started raging on once again. Who is going to be the next Straw Hat? And moving on from Fishman Island, we got to Punk Hazard. And many people began to speculate after we had our alliance with Law that we were actually going to get more crew members. In particular, Kinemon and Momonosuke seemed like really safe bets. A lot of people thought that maybe Kinemon was going to join the crew, and it was going to be a 1-2 punch deal with his son, Momonosuke, who would end up being the cabin boy. And then even after Punk Hazard ended, and we saw Caesar Clown traveling with the Straw Hats as they went to Dressrosa as they were using him as a hostage, a lot of people in the community then thought, well, maybe Caesar Clown is going to join. And then as we moved further through Dressrosa, it became clear that no, Caesar wasn't going to join, but we started meeting a bunch of other new characters. And two in particular caught the eye of the fandom: Bartolomeo and Rebecca. Now again, snapshot in time, because a lot of us probably take this for granted now, but at the time, reading Dressrosa week to week, we did not know there was going to be a grand fleet formed at the end of Dressrosa. We had no idea. We assumed that maybe there would be a new Straw Hat joining after Dressrosa, but nobody knew that there was going to be a grand fleet with multiple characters joining our side. So when the reveal happened that Bartolomeo was a fanboy of Luffy and the other Straw Hats, a lot of people started to believe that Bartolomeo was going to join the crew, especially after seeing the interaction between Bartolomeo and characters like Robin. And don't even get me started on Rebecca. Rebecca was such a topic of contention at the time. So many people believed that after that scene where Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji were woken up with the idea of a beautiful swordswoman eating meat, that, oh my gosh, Rebecca fills the slot foreshadowing. I can't believe Oda did this. Goda, I can't believe he did this. We're finally getting the beautiful swordswoman with the meat character. Rebecca's going to join the crew. And all the way up to the chapter in which Luffy kidnapped Rebecca at the end of Dressrosa, there was still a subsection of the fandom that believed that Rebecca was going to join the Straw Hats. Then as we moved away from Dressrosa and got to Zoe, we met Carrot, we met Wanda, we met Pedro. We saw Pedro and Carrot go along with the rest of the crew that went to Whole Cake Island, and a lot of people believed that, oh man, maybe Pedro and Carrot are going to join the crew, or maybe Carrot's going to join the crew as the lookout, and maybe Pedro will make like a Nox Pirates, a new Nox Pirates, as part of the Grand Fleet, and theories were going all over the place. Heck, I even remember the theories. In fact, I even did a video on this way back in the day that Peckham's might join the crew, because Peckham's was betrayed by Big Mom and by Capone, and he has no other place to go back to. He's on friendly terms with the Minx. Maybe Peckham's would be a suitable new character to join the Straw Hats. And again, at this time, you gotta remember, all through Dressrosa, through Zoe, through the majority of Whole Cake Island, we still didn't know if Jinbei was going to come back anytime soon. We were still waiting on Jinbei to officially join the crew. So a lot of people thought that maybe we were gonna get a new Straw Hat in the interim before Jinbei gets there. And then Whole Cake happened, Jinbei shows back up again, and then it was clear as day. Okay, Jinbei's gonna join, he's leaving with the crew, Whole Cake Island's gonna end, he's leaving with them. And then Oda, swerve, does a twist again, and Jinbei still doesn't leave with Luffy and the rest of them. And to make matters worse, Pedro died, and the way that Whole Cake Island wrapped up, and many of you remember the week-to-week debates about this, people thought that maybe Jinbei was going to die and then be reanimated as a homie or something like that, because we had that lever life wheel thing that Big Mom was spinning, and people thought, well, maybe he's gonna lose a limb. Didn't end up happening. Maybe he's going to, have a new body. That didn't end up happening. So people still, even though we knew pretty much that Jinbei was going to join the crew again at some point within the story, even if you die, don't die, that whole speech from Luffy, we still didn't know what it was going to look like or when it was going to happen. Flash forward to Wano Country. We meet Otama. We find out that Otama had a prior interaction with Ace. And then as we progressed further through the story and we met more of the samurai and we sort of saw the direction things were going, it started to become clear that Kinemon's probably not going to join the crew, but maybe Momonosuke will. Maybe Momonosuke's not going to stay in Wano Country. Maybe he's going to leave it to the rest of the samurai. He's going to go leave and be a cabin boy. That is until the introduction of Yamato. And while it wasn't super clear in the first chapter or two, it has since become incredibly clear that most likely, I'm gonna say this with 99.9% confidence, Yamato is going to be joining the Straw Hats at the end of Wano Country. Multiple times over the course of the past year, Yamato has mentioned wanting to set sail away from Wano Country and be like Oden and witness the new dawn. And Yamato obviously had that prior interaction with Ace that a lot of people connected to when we first met Otama. The only other character since the time that I have been following this series weekly that it's been more obvious they are going to join the crew as the next Straw Hat was Brook. Because Brook was a musician, Luffy wanted a musician, Luffy offered for him to join the crew right at the very beginning of Thriller Bark. No doubt about it, Brook was going to join. But it's never been more clear-cut than it is right now with Yamato. But despite that, every week in my comment section, not just my comment section, but everybody's comment section, I see a variation of, I don't think Yamato's going to join the crew. I really feel like Yamato's going to die in Wano Country. There's no way that Yamato joins the crew at the end of all this. And the only thing I have to say to that is this. Huh? Like, are we reading the same story? Well, what role would Yamato play in the crew? The scribe, the person chronicling the adventure. But Yamato has Conqueror's Haki. That would mess up the dynamic of the monster trio. There's no monster trio. There hasn't been a monster trio in a very long time. Jinbei joined the crew. Tons of other characters are getting stronger. The dynamic of the monster trio isn't going anywhere. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji will always have that dynamic, but it's becoming even more clear over the course of recent chapters that Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy are no longer just considered a monster trio, but Zoro and Sanji are now seen as the wings of the future Pirate King. Don't you think Oda's aware of the fact that people have had this idea of a monster trio for years and years and years, and he's purposely, in the story, laying it out clearly that the dynamic is now that they are the wings of the Pirate King and not necessarily the two strongest members of the crew anymore. Jinbei is a former warlord of the sea. He's incredibly strong, and I don't want to get into power scaling, but I honestly feel like Jinbei and Sanji, kind of the same level. Add to that the recent reveal that Yamato has Conqueror's Haki, it is becoming clear as day the same dynamic that we had pre-time skip doesn't really exist anymore post-time skip, at least in terms of power levels. The dynamic, again, between Luffy, Zoro, Sanji isn't going anywhere. They're still always going to be there for each other, but we're getting strong crew members alongside them. But even despite all of that, I could still understand the skepticism regarding Yamato joining the Straw Hat crew. Yamato is a very new character, was introduced in Act 3 of Wano Country. We are still in the same act that the character was introduced. We didn't hear anything about this character in the first and second act of Wano Country. We are just now getting the backstory for this character, and it was really only in like 2 panels in the previous chapter, and then half of the chapter before that. And that's pretty much it. There's still a lot of gaps to fill in regards to the backstory of Yamato. However, I have never in the history of me covering One Piece on YouTube seen as much pomp and circumstance for a voice actor reveal as what was seen with the reveal of Yamato's voice actress. For the staff to go out of their way to show the voice actress for this character separately in a standalone video, paired with all this new merch with the Straw Hats and Yamato. There are a bunch of towels with the Straw Hats and Yamato on it. There's plates with the Straw Hats and Yamato. There are so many other pieces of merchandise that are being released right now that have all the Straw Hats on it and Yamato. The stage is being set, and yet despite all of this, there's still a large portion of people that are just pretending to be oblivious to all of this. That, oh, it doesn't matter, Yamato's gonna die in Wano Country. Bruh, Yamato's gonna die. The only conceivable way in which Yamato dies during this arc is if there's some other plot device, some other Rene Rebirth type device in which Law uses immortality surgery to save Yamato, or Marco's got some other new revival power or something. That's literally it. Okay, Pell survived a nuke to the face. Yamato's not dying in Wano. We got a voice actress reveal. We're getting the backstory. The character is mentioned setting sail after Wano ends. It's never been more clear since Brook. How is there still such a debate and so many people against this? Now, I'm not talking about people who are against the idea of Yamato joining. That's a whole other discussion. You could be against Yamato joining and want another character joining or something. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the people who are vehemently believing that Yamato's gonna die in Wano Country. That Yamato's not gonna leave Wano with the crew in some capacity, either as a member of the Grand Fleet or a Straw Hat or whatever. And so to send a message, I am going to do something unprecedented. I'm going to make a very potentially dangerous bet with my audience. If at the end of the story arc, Yamato does not leave with the Straw Hats, or pull a Jinbei at the end of Fishman Island and say, I have business to take care of here in Wano Country, but I will be joining up with you guys soon, and Yamato just stays on Wano, we don't hear from the character again, or Yamato dies, because many of you seem to believe Yamato is going to die, despite the fact that they're really hyping up this new character. If that ends up happening, and Yamato doesn't join the crew at the end of Wano, or at the very least join the Grand Fleet, I will do a watch through of the top comment on this video. I don't care if it's an anime, I don't care if it's a TV show. The top comment will be something that I will do a watch through to. And to take it one step further to show just how confident I am, and I know you guys are gonna say something crazy, to show just how confident I am, I will do said watch through in whatever cosplay you all choose. It could be a wild, ridiculous cosplay, it's not gonna matter. I'll do it. And those of you who've watched me for a long time know that I am happy to admit defeat when I am wrong about something. I am. For a long time, people said, you need to watch Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is so good. You're going to love Vinland Saga. And time after time after time, I tried Vinland Saga. I got up to 3 episodes and I said, this isn't for me. It took Viewer's Choice Week for my audience to vote on me watching Vinland Saga, but I watched it and I happily admitted in a video that I was wrong and that Vinland Saga was great. I was happy to take the L, and I will be happy to take the L here if Yamato does not end up joining the crew. Leave your suggestions for whatever that watch through is going to be. If you're confident that Yamato is not going to join, you literally, it's a win-win situation for my viewers, okay? I'm the only one with something to lose after all this. So leave your idea for that watch through. If I end up losing this bet, leave your cosplay suggestions, whatever, and I'll see you guys later in the week. Bye, everybody.